the Buccaneers and Bears played last night, and all you're going to hear about is Tom Brady for getting his fourth down on the last play and all that stuff. And look, this is something that I've talked about a lot on the show, is that Tom Brady, number one, is not Tom Brady of old. He wasn't Tom Brady last year. He wasn't Tom Brady the year before. You have to go back a few years before you get the Tom Brady that we have known for so long. I want to say right now, the only quarterbacks over the age of like 41 or something to have wins in the NFL is Tom Brady with like 3 and Vinny Testaverde with like 2. So he's in rarefied air. So I'm not like, I have been preaching that Brady is maybe a top 20-ish quarterback, like maybe somewhere in that 15 to 20 range, depending on how it looks for just this season. Obviously, I think Tom Brady's the best quarterback of all time. Everyone should. There really is no other argument. But he just ain't got it. And 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you tell me Tom Brady has a minute and 30 seconds on the clock and all he needs is a field goal, I'm taking Brady, And so I'm not too surprised with his struggles of late, and not of late, but I mean like of this season, of last season. But this is another thing that we talked about with the change of scenery. Does this whole fourth down thing happen with Bill Belichick? Probably not. I don't know if Brady really forgot the down and all that stuff, but I guarantee you Bill Belichick would not have done that. Like Bruce Arians is a little bit more of a fly by the seat of his pants, a little bit more of a gunslinger type coach, and this kind of stuff can happen. It's not just Tom Brady getting older, but it's also Tom Brady leaving the greatest organizational structure. And I talk about that a lot on this show. The idea that these teams, the idea that the front office, the idea that organizational structure is a really big deal, because it is. Like it's a really big deal. Having coaches like that, having a structure, having a GM, having like all those things, that's what makes dynasties possible. That's what makes being able to pick up the Wes Welkers and the Julian Edelmans and the Chris Hogans and the whoever else and make them stars, because you can bring them into your system, put them in your system, and your system works. That's why Matt Castle could win 10 games as starting quarterback, and then he's out of the league 2 years later. The Patriots have a way. The Patriot way is kind of a meme, but it's the truth. And it starts at the top and bleeds down. Brady's not in that. So now Brady's playing with a bunch of guys who are not from that system. And that matters. That really matters. You cannot just plug people into random places and act like they're going to play the same way. That's not how it works. So Brady in Tampa is feeling that right now. He's seeing that. His teammates are not the Patriot born and bred players, and his coaches aren't the Patriot born and bred coaches, and that's bleeding down. Now, as far as Chicago, this is probably going to end the Mitchell Trubisky saga in Chicago. I think that in the first half, or maybe until about 2 minutes to go in the first half, because they were winning at halftime, but I think that there was some grumblings of, hey, man, if we're going to lose, let's lose with Trubisky. Let's lose with a guy who maybe has a chance to progress. Let's not lose with Foles and waste Trubisky and Foles. But this is what Foles can do. Foles can get you out of a hole. It's not like Foles is incredible. All right? This is a 20-19 game, right? This is nothing crazy. Foles scored 14 points in the second quarter, 6 in the fourth. It's not – Foles didn't go out there and just duel Brady. But having Nick Foles gives you a bit of that magic. So I think Chicago is all in with Nicholas, and it's goodbye to Mitchell Trubisky. As far as Chicago, look, maybe it's just me. I just don't trust Chicago. I never have, ever since the Nagy Trubisky pairing. I don't think they're good, and they're 4-1, so it's hard for me to say that. But I tweeted this out last night. But if they were 15-1, I think I would still say they're overrated and still say they're probably the worst 15-1 team in NFL history. So the Bears are going to have to do a whole lot to impress me. Every time I bet on them, I lose. If I bet against them, they win. If I bet on them, they lose. I bet against them against Atlanta and Detroit. I bet on them against Indianapolis. So, it's fun times. Absolutely fun times. I'm going to chat here. Chicago is the worst 4-1 team probably ever. I agree. That's what I said. I agree. If they were 16-0, I would think they were under overrated. I would think they were not that good. It's just something about them. It's just something about, I don't believe in consistency with Foles. There's no reason for me to believe that Chicago can do this. Let's look. This is a team that, look, they're 4-1. but I just don't believe in him. I don't believe in it at all. Jimmy Graham had one hell of a catch in this game. But yeah, that's why, like, I have a video in the pipeline where I reacted to Colin Cowherd's top 10 power ranking. Recorded it yesterday live on stream if you want to watch the VOD. That video should be out on YouTube, I think, on Sunday. But he had Tampa Bay at 3. And I was talking about in that video where Tampa Bay just is the ultimate fool's gold. They are on paper, it's like, yes, this is a really good team. Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady, Leonard Fournette. And then it's like, when the hell was the last time that any of these players were good? Fournette was good last year, admittedly, but above average is more the correct word. But you look at Gronkowski, he's a couple years out of just being a full-time player, and then a couple more years out from being like a dominant player. Brady is more than a couple years out from being a dominant player, and it's just like, I just don't see it all, And Leonard Fournette, as good as he may be, what does that even mean? It's like Todd Gurley in Atlanta. How good will Todd Gurley have to be to make a difference in Atlanta? How good will Leonard Fournette have to be to make a difference in Tampa Bay in a passing league like this? I mean, you will have to see, like, Nick Chubb's a good example. Nick Chubb had an incredible year last year, and no one gives a shit because it's Cleveland and it's the NFL, and you got to score to win, and running backs just aren't a thing. If Leonard Fournette has 1,800 yards, the Buccaneers are probably still going to be like a 9-win team. So, I mean, I think people are starting to see the Bucs a little more for what they are, and that'll just continue as the year goes on.